Hoje vamos falar sobre os livros de Samuel. Eles são 2 livros, Samuel 1, Samuel 2. First Samuel, 1 Samuel e 2 Samuel. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to speak English. Hello all. Today we are gonna talk about the books of Samuel, 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel. And I'm gonna read quickly the introduction here and tell you if I agree or not with it. Intro. The books commonly known as 1st and 2nd Samuel and 1st and 2nd Kings are really one long book. They were separated due to the length of ancient scrolls. Beginning with Samuel, the last of the judges, this book describes what happened in the days of the kings who ruled first the whole nation, and then the divided kingdoms of Israel and Judah. The reigns of Saul and David are described in detail. The repeating structure within the book tells how old the king was when he came to the throne, where and for how long he ruled, and something about his character and the notable events of his reign. Some traditions call this book the Book of Reigns. Beneath this pattern of historical succession, however, another rhythm can be discerned. Saul, the first king, does not follow God faithfully, and God announced he will seek a man after his own heart to rule Israel. God finds this person, David. He puts him on the throne, promising that his descendants will always rule Israel if they continue to serve him. Unfortunately, the kings after David are not committed to following God's way. Many of them abandon God and lead the people to do the same. Although a few of them call the people back to obedience, using David's wholehearted dedication to the Lord as its standard, the book of Samuel to Kings trace the tragic wavering of the people's devotion to God. Their covenant failure leads to the nation first being divided and then later conquered by the powerful empire to the east. The Book of Reigns is therefore a tragic closing of the whole covenant history that begins in Genesis. Just as the first humans were exiled from God's garden, now Israel is sent out of the new Eden, God intended in the promised land. Land and temple have been lost in the darkness of judgment, and only a flickering light remains. The deeper purpose of God for Israel, to bring blessing and restoration to the nations, seems to have been frustrated. But hope remains alive in God's promise to bring the descendant of David back to the throne. All right, I can kind of accept this, except that I do believe that the purpose of the Bible is to show that absolutely every single human being will fail. That only Jesus will be perfect. So we can always strive to do our best, but we are sinful people, imperfect people, and we are going to fail every single time. Yet we were chosen by him, so that's a good thing, right? Now I'm gonna let the Bible read for you extra fast, and then I'm gonna explain what this book is about.
The first book of Samuel. 1 Samuel, chapter 1. There was a certain man from great fame, a Zumite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuri, an Ephraimite. He had 2 wives. One was called Hannah, and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. She had a master given,
This very first chapter to me is interesting because it's of a man with two wives. One of them can have children, the other one can't. So the one that can't have children keeps um, teasing the one that can't. But the husband actually loves the one that cannot have children and assures her that she's more important to him than 10 sons. Yet the woman goes to the temple of the Lord and deeply cries and asks him for a child. And as she's praying, she's moving her lips, but not letting a word come out, to the point where the priest um, believes that she is drunk and orders her to put away her wine. But she explains to him that she's just a woman deeply grieving, and for him not to think poorly of her. Then he tells her, go home and may God bless you with whatever it is that you ask him for. I like this part because instead of confronting her rival back, engaging in the verbal fight, she goes to the temple to cry out to God. This is something I've learned to do um, since 2012, and I tell you, there is no better confrontation. For example, I studied wellness, mind, brain, soul, spirit. If you take a look at this page of the YouTube, you're gonna see that this page is a page of wellness. And my motivation was to take care of my family, especially my own mother. I grew up seeing my mother in highly poor health and watching my father that would never cry and not even allow any of his own daughters to cry. It's very difficult for you to see any female of the family to cry, especially the men. The men really won't cry, but even the female. And I would see him crying when he thought that my mother would die because of her health crisis. And he would kneel down to the floor and scream, God, please don't let my wife die before me. I cannot live without her. And tears would fall down. And he didn't care who was watching. And I caught him doing that about 3 times. So I used to look at the situation, and first I would feel the pain of seeing a man crying, because I'm like, this is a man that every time I attempt to cry tells me, roll up your tears, otherwise I give you a reason to cry about. So he was against crying. You are soldier, tough it up. So to see the man cry, I knew that he was in a great desperation. So to me, after today, seeing a man cry is something that I almost want to throw up. And then later on, when I actually went to therapy to help me accept his death and keep going on with my life, I ended up learning from a very book that my mother read to me about the power of the brain, to just find a way to continue a project he had started but couldn't finish because now he's dead, to start living for him, to keep him alive through myself. And I thought, well, the most important person to him was my mother. So I'm gonna take care of her for him because he's not here to do that anymore. And I learned to take care of elders. I took the course of home health attendant in the United States. Um, and I've already said in a few videos that I have worked with several elders, even helping them recover from Alzheimer. And I became a personal trainer there in the United States. At my mother's 76th birthday, I did an entire therapy with her, which was something that I had just done for myself in the pools through swimming 76 laps to honor her age, and was a revelation that I had while I was there swimming. And that really cured her. The source of her problems were emotional. So through that therapy we did together, all the problems were gone. And that, I guess that's all that I can recollect now that I did specifically to take care of her. Then when she went to the United States twice at a very poor health. I only had a month with her, and during the 1 month, I put her back in shape physically, mentally. And my sister in the United States would always praise me. She was one of my clients in the past as a personal trainer, and she would always praise me, how great of a professional I was, and what an incredible job I had done with our mother. So this time around, I was coming to the United States, and the landlord, my landlord, was telling me, oh, please stay, I don't want you to go. And I was telling her, my mother is already 84 years old, she's in a poor health. I learned everything I learned to take care of her, and I'm here giving my knowledge to other people's mom. I want to do this for my own mother. I have to go. And it was very hard for me. I was taking care of 6 cats, 7, and 2 dogs that I was so attached to. It was hard to leave them behind. I had a bunch of stuff there, a bunch of clothes. I didn't need to repeat clothes ever. Here I'm wearing always the same few clothes I have that I brought along with me. I had a karaoke that I had just purchased there that was expensive, and I had only used about 10 times. A lot of workout accessories, and a bunch of shoes, a bunch of purse, a bunch of jewelry. I had to leave behind, and we will stay there. But I'm like having memorable time with my mother before something bad happens. You know, she's at the last stage of her life. Is more important to me than any of this. And I came. My intention was to be with her every day for 3 months, and on those 3 months I would give my 30 days course of English to her, and we would go to the beach, we would do some daily activities together. We would develop a bra, a special bra for people that have small breasts together, because she's a professional sewer, and that was my idea. But I was confronted with my sister blocking my way to her, and to a point where I have seen my mother about 3 times, and that was it. And I'm already entering the 4th month of being in Brazil. I actually decided not to go back to the United States because I didn't get to spend time with her. I didn't get to do anything that I had set my mind to do. I've been watching her deteriorating, and there is nothing I can do about. Um, but like this grieving life, I am not confronting my rival. I am pouring my heart to the Lord, and whatever He tells me to do, I do. So I have already sent a letter about our situation to the family's doctor, and I have spoken to a family member that have a little power to intermediate, and all those things I did post prayers. And I had already given the situation to God, saying, just like I don't have any contact with my son, I also am putting this alienation toward my mother and me on your hands, and asking you to stay with the two of us, to enable the two of us to go through this moment. So I really like this very first chapter because it shows a wise way to solving problems. Um, I don't believe that having verbally attacked her, having gone down to her level, would have solved the situation. Would just have put herself, my mother, and myself in a worse situation that we already are. So I like seeing here that this is how the problem was thought, was solved. Now let's continue.
Yeah, sacrificed the word without fulfilling vow. Hannah did not know. She said to her husband, after the war is weak, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will declare them both. Do what seems best to you, her husband gave her to her. Stay here until you want him. Only may the Lord make good his word. So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son till she weaned him. After he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with the 3-year-old bull, and the father flour, and a skin of wine, and brought it to the house of the Lord Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli, and she said to him, pardon me, my lord, as surely as you live, I am the one who so yet started praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child. The Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he shall give it over to the Lord. And he should go there. What?
Okay, so what happened was that after the prayer, this wife returned home, and the Bible describes that as she was going home, she was no longer grieving. She was now in good spirits, and her husband made love to her, and she became pregnant. The Bible tells this a lot. Um, every time there is a woman struggling to get pregnant, he tells them something to them that will change their state of mind, put them in good spirits, and then they become pregnant. It really gives the impression that part of becoming pregnant has to do with high self-esteem, with peace of mind, being relaxed. Um, there was a party going on, an annual party, and this mother's husband invited her to go too, and she said, no, I want to stay here with our boy until he finished being breastfed, and once he's finished, I'm gonna send him to that priest for him to grow in the house of the Lord and to learn the Lord's way. And her husband told her, do as you will. In other words, she was going to offer her own son that she had prayed about to God, to show her appreciation for the answer of her prayer. Which means she didn't really want to become a mom, she just wanted to be equal with her rival, just to say, hey, we are both wives and we are both mothers, you have nothing on me. Then her husband again showed her that she was more important to him than a child. Like, hey, do whatever you want. Want to give the child away? Give the child away. And she did give the child away. And this child is Prophet Samuel, that this book is dedicated to.
Chapter 2. Then Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my heart is lifted high. My mouth boasts so my enemies, for I delight in his truth. There is no one holy like the Lord. No.
Oh, now there will be a prayer of hers. And this prayer I'm actually going to put in, I'm going to read it to you myself. Hannah's prayer. Then Hannah prayed and said, and pay attention to this prayer because we usually pray to ask things, but not always to thank God for the things we received. I remember when I had become a personal trainer, I used to always drive to the gym I used to work at, which was named Body Total Fitness. At that time, later changed name to 24 Hours Fitness. But while it was Body Total Fitness, I used to drive to the parking lot, and before exiting my car, I would pray, Jesus, please give me 2 clients today, because that was the goal of every single trainer, to have 2 clients. Then I would enter there and quickly get my 2 clients, and then I would schedule their training to start one other day, and I would go to the room of the personal trainers and tell them, bye-bye losers, I've already reached my goal of the day, stay there all day trying to reach yours. So needless to say, everybody hated me, except for my boss and my manager. Those 2 loved me dearly because I was always done with my goal, always bringing money to the company. But I would never thank Jesus for the 2 clients. On the next day, I would ask for another 2 clients, I would get those 2 clients, and I would never thank God for those 2 clients. Here, Hannah asked for Samuel, and now she's going to pray again to thank God for Samuel. Hannah's prayer. Then Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such arrogance. For the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed. The bows of the warriors are broken, but those who stumble are armed with strength. Those who are full hire themselves out for food. Those who are full hire themselves out for food. But those who are hungry no more. She who was barren has borne 7 children. This mother later got 6 more children. But she who has had many sons pines away. The Lord brings death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and rise up. The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He sits them with prince and has them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundation of the earth are the Lord's. On them he has set the world. He will guard the feet of his faithful servants, but the wicked will be silenced in the place of darkness. It is not by strength that one prevails. Those who oppose the Lord will be broken. The Most High will thunder from heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to the king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Then Elkanah went home to Ramah, but the boy ministered before the Lord under me, the priest. So it's really cool, right? Again, once we win a battle, a war, something we really desire, human nature is to go to that person that was confronting her, like I did in that gym, and shout, right, and burst. Hey, losers, look at me now. Hey. But this is not what she did. She went to the Lord and she declared all her happiness to him in prayer. So again, this woman showed that both confrontation and commemoration need to be done to God. About 7 months ago, I was invited to go to work with a stranger, which is a normal behavior in our Brazilian community in the United States. And Adriana is her name. And on our way to work, this woman was asking a bunch of things about me, which is common of our Brazilian culture. People are very nosy. They really dig into your personal life. They have no sense of personal invasion, privacy invasion. And I'm like, yeah, she's like, why do you want to clean houses? And I'm like, oh, because I like working with other people. I like seeing what American houses look in the inside. I like interacting with American people. And she's like, oh, but you're so beautiful. You are athletic. Why don't you do something different? And I'm like, well, I do other things too. And she's like, yeah, what do you do? Well, I'm a model, I'm a dancer, I'm a writer. And then she said, oh, some people are so full of themselves. She vented aloud. We entered the house, went up a set of stairs, and I went first. As soon as I reached the top of the stairs, she got the vacuum and she shoved it on my right foot with all the strength of the world. Like I just felt like the bone breaking right away. Like it was such a strong pain that I just stood there still, like feeling that break, and I'm like, Jesus, help me, help this not to be broken. Then she left the vacuum there and went downstairs. She didn't say I'm sorry. And at that moment, I took a few steps and I realized something was really bad. And I was there praying, Jesus, please don't let this be broken, don't let this be broken. And as I started taking steps, I just felt my foot swallowing and that pain increasing to the point where I started now dragging my foot. And then I told her, she came back and I'm like, could you please get ice for me downstairs? And she ignored me. So I went downstairs myself, dragging myself, going very slow, and I spoke to the owner of the house. I asked her to give me ice, and I finished up. I worked with the woman who just talked about superfluous things over there, never apologized, never asked how my foot was, totally ignored that. Then on the car, she's like, listen, I'm gonna bring you home because you are too slow today and I cannot have you delay my work on the second house. And then I told her, do whatever you want, but whether I go with you to the other house or go home, you are gonna pay my entire day of work today. And then she's like, let's go together. Then she brought me to the second house with her and kept complaining on how slow I was, as if it had nothing to do with her having broken my foot. At the end of the day, she again said, oh, tomorrow you don't need to come because your foot's broken. I'm like, again, whether I come or not come, you are gonna pay for my day of work. And she's like, you know what, just come. Then I went, and I was on one side of the train station, and she said, oh, I am on the other side, walk to the other side to meet me. Again, the woman is driving, so it would be easier for her to go around, and knowing that she had damaged my foot, we didn't know if it was broken or not, she should have gone there herself, but no. So I go there, dragging myself to the other side of the train station. And on that day again, she was complaining all day on how slow I was. Then on the way back, I decided to stop at the hospital. And they told me, your foot's broken, you're going to have to stay without working for 2 weeks. So I told her, listen, you're going to have to pay for me to stay home for 2 weeks. She paid for 3 days, blocked my phone, disappeared. I never saw where this woman was again. And I had to work. Who would pay my bills? I had high bills to pay. I had to work with a broken foot. I couldn't allow myself to be resting. And that foot took 6 months to heal. When I came to Brazil, I decided to go for a class, a dancing class, very scared of how I would feel. And I was still feeling a little pain. Then I made an appointment with a foot doctor, and I had already danced a lot by then. It was still painful until I just got cleared from the doctor for all activities about a week ago. So it took 6 entire months for the one little toe that broke badly to heal. And that was why, because someone felt envy, felt jealous of the things that I did in the United States. Now, why did I do so many things in the United States? Because I didn't have friends. My family there didn't talk to me. I wasn't invited for their parties. I was home alone. Every man I decided to have, they would find a way to destroy. I started touching a man today, and a bunch of women jumped on him to steal him from me. So I understand that the men that I date are attractive men, muscular men, men that most women would feel attracted to. So I started dating men that I would never date myself. I got the ugliest man on earth that I could ever see. Everything was wrong with them. And even the men got jumped by 100 women. So to the point where I started keeping my romantic life very privately. I don't let people know who I am with, and to kind of prevent that personal attack. But uh, eu it was just a matter of confrontation. And here we see that this woman deals with this through the Lord. She experienced this too, but she went to the Lord for him to be the judge between her and the person that was afflicting her, psychologically abusing her psychologically. We don't take psychological abuse too serious in some places, but it is as painful as a physical abuse and as damaging as a physical abuse, and it is as punishable by the law as physical abuse. And this woman was being psychologically abused, but it is important to know how to confront this. So I really love that prayer, and now let's continue.
No one besides you. There is no wrong like our God. Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such evidence. For the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed. For both Eli's sons were scoundrels. They had no regard for the Lord. Now it was the practice of the priests that whenever any of the people offered sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3 pound fork in his hand while the meat was being boiled, and would plant a fork into the back of the kettle or cauldron or pot. Whatever fork brought up, the priest would take it himself. This is how they treated all the Israelites against Shiloh. But even before the fat was burnt, the priest's servant would come and say to the person who was sacrificing, "Give the priest some meat to roast." He won't say, "Oh, we is always yours, so not enough food to eat. What's up?
So here we see that Eli, the priest of the time, that became the guardian of Samuel, had two sons who would disobey God's orders, that didn't regard God as himself. And it's strange because it did shows that Eli rebuked his sons verbally, yet God goes ahead and sends him a prophet saying, hey, you are protecting your son, you are not rebuking their wrongdoings toward me. So I'm gonna punish them, and their punishment will be assigned to you, which means whatever I'm telling you that's gonna happen to them will also happen to you. So, which gives me the impression that what God expected of him was to have killed his own sons. It says that Eli thought of killing his sons. And as a prophet, I do realize that one way of God talking to us is a thought. And it makes me think that that thought was God's desired choice of punishment to his sons, and that Eli contained himself because they were his sons. So God sent this prophet to tell him, you should have acted out on that thought, you should have killed him. But then he killed, he said, your two sons will die on the same day, and so will you die on that same day. And later on, we are going to see that all three of them die on the same day. Then we also see that God will start talking to Samuel, which I think is going to happen right now. I'm going to read this myself too. I'm not going to read this entire chapter, we are just going to talk a little bit, this entire book, a little bit, but those are the parts that really stood out for me, so that's why I'm reading those parts to you. The Lord calls Samuel. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare. There was not many visions. Sometimes when people are not listening to God, they don't believe in God, God simply starts talking to them. He doesn't force himself upon people. One night, Eli, whose eyes were becoming so weak that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the house of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Oh, I forgot to pray before reading. I do pray myself daily, but I'm sorry, that's something that we are supposed to always do, so let's do it now. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for teaching us that we are never alone. We are always the biggest, the strongest, the wisest, the most powerful team if we are together with you. That every single attack against us should be brought to you, be it physical, psychological, emotional, it should be brought to you, that you revenge us ourselves in the best way possible. Thank you for helping me keeping up with this project. When this project started, I didn't really know what I was doing with it. But now I see that just like with the time of the pandemic, this is a project that keeps me protected against psychological attacks, against malicious traps on my way, that keeps my self-esteem high, showing me that your voice, your words are the words that I need to pay attention to. I need to listen to. So thank you for this amazing project that keeps me sane in times of financial distress, of family troubles, and keep me in touch with the languages that I spent so many years learning, despite being a country where I am surrounded by people that don't speak this language. And once again, I ask that every single word out of my mouth are words chosen by you, and that everybody that receives those words receive what you intend them to receive, and not myself. In the name of Jesus, amen. So let's continue. The Lamb of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the house of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." But Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. Again the Lord called Samuel. And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. A third time the Lord called Samuel, and Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down, and if he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." And the Lord said to Samuel, "See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears about it tingle. At that time I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke against his family from beginning to end. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons blasphemed God, and he failed to restrain them. Therefore I swore to the house of Eli, the guilt of Eli's house will never be atoned for by sacrifice or offering." Now we see here that the Bible says that God knows our first days before our last days, right? And we see that God had already put Samuel in the house of Eli to learn from Eli the practices of priesthood, but yet he hadn't revealed himself to the boy. And so before telling Eli that he had sinned and he would be cut out from any promised blessing, previously been made, he had already worked on that substitution. So it really shows us that there is nothing that we do that surprise God. He knows things way before we do, right? Samuel lay down until morning and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision, but Eli called him and said, Samuel, my son. Samuel answered, Here I am. What was it he said to you? Eli asked. Do not hide it from me. May God deal with you, be it ever so severely, if you hide from me anything he told you. So Samuel told him everything, hiding nothing from him. Then Eli said, He's the Lord, let him do what is good in his eyes. The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of Samuel's words fall to the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. Then the Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. Now, on chapter 4, we see that the ark of the Lord was captured, and then Eli's 2 sons were killed at the same time in battle, and then this news was brought to Eli, and when Eli didn't really care about the death of his sons at all, but when he heard that the ark of the God had been captured, he fell down the chair he was sitting on, and he broke his neck, so he died as well, fulfilling what God had previously told, that the death of his sons would also, the day his sons died would also be the day he died. Then the ark goes to Ashdod and Ekron on chapter 5. Now the ark returned to Israel. And here we're going to see that when the ark is touched without proper authorization, the people are put to death. In the house that the ark is in, the house is blessed. Then Samuel becomes the prophet of the time. They didn't have a king yet. Everything was done through the prophet, and people recognized the power of God upon him. Yet on chapter 8, they asked for a king, and Samuel realized that those people are rejecting him as their king. So he tells the people, listen, God said that because you have rejected him, God himself, the king that you will so desire will only do evil toward you. He will abuse you guys, your children. And yet they said, we want a king. And then God tells Samuel to go and pick a specific king. And this king is Saul. He's the tallest man of his household, very handsome. quickly sin against God. He goes to a battle where he's supposed to kill everyone and everything, but he leaves a few things alive, people, animals alive, and that was seen as disobedience to God. So God removed, departed from him, allowed him to continue to be king, but without God's power. And he does awful things. He even gets to a point of making people choose between being killed or losing one of their eyes. Then we see a bunch of war taking place here. This becomes a very violent book, very hard to read. And then Samuel gives a farewell speech. To let people know from here on, it's you and your king. So let's listen to his speech. Samuel's farewell speech. Samuel said to all Israel, I have listened to everything you said to me and have set a king over you. Now you have a king as your leader. As for me, I am old and gray, and my sons are here with you. I have been your leader from my youth until this day. Here I stand, testify against me in the presence of the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Whose donkey have I taken? Whom have I cheated? Whom have I oppressed? From whose hand have I accepted a bribe to make me shut my eyes? If I have done any of these things, I will make it right. You have not cheated or oppressed us, they replied. You have not taken anything from anyone's hand. Samuel said to them, the Lord is witness against you, and also his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand. He is witness, they said. Then Samuel said to the people, it is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt. Now then, stand here, because I am going to confront you with evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors. After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried to the Lord for help, and the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this place. But they forgot the Lord their God, so he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, we have sinned, we have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtoreth. But now deliver us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you. Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Shephthah, and Samuel, and he delivered you by the hands of your enemies all around you, so that you lived in safety. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was moving against you, you said to me, now we want a king to rule over us, even though the Lord your God was your king. Now here is the king you have chosen, the one you asked for. See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him, and do not rebel against his commander, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you, as it was against your ancestors. Now then, stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. It is not wheat harvest yet. I will call the Lord to send thunder and rain, and you will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king. Then Samuel called to the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel. The people all said to Samuel, "Pray to the Lord your God and your servants, so that we will not die, for we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king." "Do not be afraid," Samuel replied. "You have done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do no good, nor can they rescue because they are useless. For the sake of this great name, the Lord will, of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you. And I will teach you the way that is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart, considering that what great things he has done for you. Yet, if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish." So here, basically, we see Samuel giving a speech that later we're going to see Jesus giving. What sin are you attacking me for, right? When he's about to be put to death. Which one of these good deeds of mine displeased you? So again, the Old Testament shows us what's going to happen in the New Testament. It just shows us differently. Sometimes telling a story 2-3 times helps people understand and retain the information. On my very first book, Are You a Jay When Crossing the Street, the same exactly plot is said 3 times differently. And this is for the very reason to create memorization. Many people report reading a book and not understanding what they read, or already forgetting what they've read. But when you say that story 2-3 times in a completely different way, they think, oh, he said this before. Yeah, that's the same story. So they assimilate that story. And we also see Samuel talking to them about all their past history. We see that every single generation hears the story of their ancestors, which shows us that it is important to talk about family history, to talk about history itself, biblical history, because that's a way to learn what kind of behaviors bring good blessings, what kind of behavior bring karma, so people can make better decisions. And he told them all that would happen, basically he told them, hey, you have absolutely no idea how disrespectful you were to God when you asked for a king. God was talking to you personally through a prophet, yet you asked for a king. You have no idea how displeasing it was. Yet, if you and your chosen king continue to obey God, God is gonna let go of his personal displeasure with you. But we are gonna see that both the people and the king will continue to disrespect God. On chapter 13, Samuel will rebuke Saul because he will have failed to obey God by leaving a few animals and people alive when God ordered him to kill them all. Later on, we're going to see that Jonathan eats honey. Jonathan is the son of Saul, and Saul, even though he's not devoted to God as Eli was ordered Jonathan to be put to death, his own son to be put to death. It was the people that intervened to keep him alive. Meanwhile, in the past, Eli, who had a very close relationship with God, had refused to sacrifice his own sons, and God cursed him by ensuring that he would never have anybody of his family sitting on the throne. Then Saul gets rejected as a king by God, and Samuel anoints David as a new king. So Saul is still ruling as king, but God is already preparing a substitute with David, just like he did with Samuel in the past by having prepared him as a substitute of Eli, while Eli hadn't even sinned yet. Again, showing that he knows the future way before those events happen. Then we see David and Goliath. David and Goliath is very interesting because David was just a short little boy who had never had experience in war, but had courage, and instead of thinking that Goliath was too big for him to fight against, he thought that Goliath was too big for him to miss. And when Saul wanted him to wear all the professional war uniform, he said, well, I don't have any experience with this type of tools, so I will use what I am used to. And he used a sling and a rock. So it's not about the power of the weapon, it's about your skills with your choice weapon. Saul's growing fear of David. So Saul started realizing that David was probably going to be the next king, and now he tries to kill him. But Saul has this son Jonathan that the people saved from being killed, and Jonathan falls in love with David, which some people truly believe it's a kind of homosexual love going on here. It's not clear, but many people believe there is something more to it that meets the eyes. Again, so far we see that everybody mentioned here were sinful people, one way or another. So I don't think it's completely bizarre to think that there is some type of homosexual desire going on, because it's just one more sin, right? Among all the other sins we have read about. So let's read a little bit and let's see what we think together. Then David fled from Naioth at Ramah and went to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father that he's trying to kill me?" "Never," Jonathan replied. "You are not going to die. Look, my father doesn't do anything great or small without letting me know. Why would he hide this from me? It isn't so." But David took an oath and said, "Your father knows very well that I have found favor in your eyes." And he has said to himself, "Jonathan must not know this, or he will be grieved. Yet as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, that is only a step between me and death." Jonathan said to David, "Whatever you want me to do, I will do for you." So David said, "Look, tomorrow is the new moon feast, and I am supposed to dine with the king. But let me go and hide in the field until the evening of the day after tomorrow. If your father misses me at all, let him tell him, David earnestly asked my permission to hurry to Bethlehem, his hometown, because an annual sacrifice is being made there for his whole clan. If he says, 'Very well,' then your servant is safe. But if he loses his temper, you can be sure that he's determined to harm me. As for you, show kindness to your servant, for you have brought him into a covenant with you before the Lord. If I am guilty, then kill me yourself. Why hand me over to your father?" "Never," Jonathan said. "If I had the least inkling that my father was determined to harm you, wouldn't I tell you?" David asked, "Who will tell me if your father answers you harshly?" "Come," Jonathan said, "let's go out into the field." So they went there together. Then Jonathan said to David, "I swear by the Lord, the God of Israel, that I will surely sound out my father by this time, the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed toward you, will I not send you word and let you know? But if my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father, but show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off everything." One of David's enemies from the face, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. Now here we'll see later on that one day there will be a handicapped member of Jonathan's family that will be honored by King David simply because he's from Jonathan's family. So he will honor this prayer of Jonathan. And by then, all of Saul's family members will have been dead already. Then Jonathan said to David, "Tomorrow is the new moon feast. you will be missed because your seat will be empty. The day after tomorrow toward evening, go to the place where you hid when the struggle began, and wait by the stone Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though I were shooting at a target. Then I will send the boy and say, go find the arrows. If I say to him, look, the arrows are on this side of you, bring them here, then come. Because as sure as the Lord lives, you are safe. There is no danger. But if I say to the boy, look, the arrows are beyond you, then you must go, because the Lord has sent you away. And about the matter you and I discussed, remember, the Lord is witness between you and me forever. So David hid in the field, and when the new moon feast came, the king sat down to eat. He sat in his customary place by the wall, opposite Jonathan, and Abner sat next to Saul, but David's place was empty. Saul said nothing that day, for he thought something must have happened to David to make him ceremonially unclean. Surely he is unclean. But the next day, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. Then Saul asked to his son Jonathan, why hasn't the son of Jesse come to the meal, either yesterday or today? Jonathan answered, David earnestly asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, let me go, because our family is observing a sacrifice in the town of my brother, and my brother has ordered me to be there. If I have found favor in your eyes, let me get away to see my brothers. That is why he has not come to the king's table. So anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, you son of a perverse and rebellious one, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame, That phrase itself to me means, don't I know that you have slept with the man to your own disgrace? And to the shame of the mother who bore you. As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, for he must die. Now we see that is a motive here for Saul to kill David. He sees that he's having a homosexual relationship with his son Jonathan. He's married to his daughter, to Jonathan's sister, but he's having a homosexual relationship with the son, with Jonathan. And he feels like they're probably going to use the daughter to have children together, right? And he's like, absolutely nobody coming from you will be a king. And later on, we're going to see that's going to be true, because Jonathan's sister will make David very angry, and he will refuse to sleep with her ever again, and she will never have children from him. She did have 5 children from a different man, because her father gave her away to a different man, but all those children were put to death by David when he rescued her. So she ended up being without no children at all. And so those words become prophecy. Why should he be put to death? What has he done? Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spear at him to kill him. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger, and on that second day of the feast, he did not eat because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, "Run from the arrows I shot." As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy came to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out after him, "Isn't the arrow beyond you?" Then he shouted, "Hurry, go quickly, don't stop." The boy picked up the arrow and returned to his master. The boy knew nothing about all this, only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapon to the boy and said, "Go, carry them back to town." After the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times, with his face to the ground. Then they kissed each other and wept together, but David wept the most. Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, 'The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever.'" Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. So apparently here, is not the place yet where the Bible describes that Jonathan and David fall in love at first sight. Let me see if I find. Well, it's here in this book somewhere. It's between chapter Saul told his son Jonathan and all attendants to kill David. But Jonathan had taken a great liking to David and warned him, "My father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I will speak to him about you and will tell you what I found out." Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul, his father, and said to him, "Let not the king do wrong to his servant David. He has not wronged you, and what he has done has benefited you greatly. He took his life in his hands when he killed the Philistine. The Lord won a great victory for all Israel, and you saw it and were glad. Why then would you do wrong to an innocent man like David by killing him for no reason?" So listen to Jonathan took his oath. "As sure as the Lord lives, David will not be put to death." So Jonathan called David and told him the whole conversation. He brought him to Saul, and David was with Saul as before. Once more war broke out, and David went out and fought for the Philistines. He struck them with such force, and they fled before him. But an evil spirit from the Lord came on Saul as he was sitting in his house with his spear in his hand while David was playing the lyre. Saul tried to pin him to the wall with his spear, but David eluded him as Saul drove the spear into the wall. That night David made good his escape. Saul sent men to David's house to watch it and to kill him in the morning, but Michal, David's wife, warned him, "If you don't run for your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be killed." So Michal let David down through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then Michal took an arrow and laid it on the bed, recovering it with a garment and putting some goat's hair at the head. When Saul sent the men to capture David, Michal said, "He's ill." Then Saul sent the men back to see David and told them, "Bring him up to me in his bed so that I may kill him." But when the men entered, there was an arrow in the bed, and at the head was some goat hair. Saul said to Michal, "Why did you deceive me like this and send my enemy away so that he escaped?" Michal told him, "He said to me, 'Let me get away. Why should I kill you?'" So she pretended that she helped her husband because he threatened to kill her. When David had fled and made his escape, he went to Samuel at Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. Then he and Samuel went to Naioth and stayed there. Word came to Saul, "David is in Naioth at Ramah." So he sent men to capture him. But when they saw a group of prophets prophesying, with Samuel standing there as their leader, the Spirit of God came on Saul's men, and they also prophesied. Saul was told about it, and he sent more men, and they prophesied too. Saul sent men third time, and they also prophesied. Finally, he himself left for Ramah and went to the great cistern at Sikku. And he asked, "Where are Samuel and David?" "Over the Naioth at Ramah," they said. So Saul went to Naioth at Ramah, but the Spirit of God came even on him, and he walked along prophesying until he came to Naioth. He stripped off his garments, and he too prophesied in Samuel's presence. He lay naked all that night, and all that day and all that night. This is why people say, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" So we found a place where we see Jonathan fell in love with David. Some translations really emphasize this as a very strong love, as he loved himself. This one just says he fell in love with him. And here we see that he also had the help of his wife. And I do believe that we are talking here about a homosexual encounter. Then we are going to see David, as he's hiding, he pretends to be crazy, meaning he's lying. Some religions condemned lying as a sin, but we see that this was a strategy given to him by God himself to protect himself. Then we see that God gives Saul's life into David's hand, but David decides to save his life. We see that David wanna kill Nabal because he refused to give him bread when he's alive, but his wife Abigail intervened, apologized for the cold heart of her husband, and gives him bread. Then later, when he hears news about Nabal's death, he asks Abigail to become his wife. So now he has two wives, the daughter of Saul and Abigail. Then we see a few more battles of King David. We see that Saul asks a soldier of his to kill him, as he's about to die over his injuries. But when David knows about this, he doesn't like it. He's like, hey, you shouldn't have done this. He's a God's anointed. You should have killed him. It's not good news. And then he puts him to death because of this, showing how his heart is. Even though that man was always trying to kill him, he goes and honors him after his death by killing the person that killed him, even though that person killed him because he asked that person's help to be killed. So this is a very bloody book, very tough read, but very rich in content. Most men will really enjoy this book. I also like how we see God's tone in this book. Some people say God is love. You are really going to doubt that God's love in this book. I think God is culture. God will take upon himself the personality of the people of a place he's working on. And in those places, it seems like it was an eye for an eye. People were really harsh. Oh, you don't obey me, you're going to be put to death. And that's how God's personality is at that moment. You disobey me, you're going to be put to death. I'm gonna sing a song in French today to finish it up. This is a song that it's a husband asks his wife, why do you mistreat me? Why you close your heart to me? Which reminds me of this prayer of Samuel asking people why they have rejected him as king. I haven't sang this song in a very long time. I don't even know if I can still do it, but if I can't, the song will play itself to you. It's called Cette Nuit, Esta Noite.
Só, se você tem um desses sobrenomes aqui, presta atenção, porque eu tenho certeza que essa notícia vai fazer o serviço.
Chega no chão, não vai souvenir, e quando chama no Twitter. Tô na pronto pra construir uma bela alegria, e quando chama no deixe, pourquoi? Je me délaisse, pourquoi? Ton bras serré, pourquoi? Tu n'es pas resté, pourquoi? Je vais m'ennuyer, comme il se séparera. Pourquoi tu m'as délaissé? Pourquoi ton bras serré? Pourquoi tu n'es pas resté? Pourquoi cette nuit, pense à moi, cette nuit, regarde-moi, cette nuit, regarde-moi, Conforme for. Fez aqui for. Cette nuit, cette nuit, cette nuit, cette nuit, oh, oh, conforme for. Fez aqui for. Conforme for. Fez aqui for. Conforme for. Fez aqui for. Chega no chão, souvenir. O dono se junto por construir uma bela avenida. Beijos, esse foi o Samuel 1, primeiro de Samuel, the first Samuel. Next time is gonna be second Samuel. Second Samuel is way more relaxed, much easier to read. There are some songs there. So it's a more pleasant book. But for those that love war, this is your book here. Anyway, bye bye guys.